Good evening, viewers and listeners, and welcome to another edition of this program, Serving the People, brought to you every week here on SBG TV, every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. by me, Anissa Batiste, Senator for the New Democratic Party. Let us start with a word of prayer. Loving Father in heaven, please bless me as I speak the truth to the people, and may they be inspired and may they know the truth as we all work together for the development of our country. In Jesus' name, amen. And now, my dear people, let me remind you of how you may contact me. If you wish to, you may send me an email. The address is servingthepeople.ab@gmail.com. Or you may telephone me at 1784-528-1015. I'll repeat the information at the end of the program for your assistance. Now, in this evening's program, we want to look at several segments, just about 3. In the first segment, I wish to address the issue of disaster relief in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, particularly as it has to do with the Hurricane Tomas, which affected us last October, at the end of October 2010. And since then, where many persons were affected, there have been a lot of complaints made concerning people not getting the assistance that they need, whereas at the same time they're complaining that persons who did not have need were given assistance in the form of materials. I am very concerned about this situation, and I want to point out certain things to you in this evening's program with respect to the kind of assistance that the government of this country has announced that we have received or expect to receive since that time. I speak with particular reference to an article, a news story that was in the newspaper on Friday, May the 20th, 2011, on page 3. And that story was a continuation from the front page story dealing with the rejection of Member of Parliament's question by the Speaker. But we're not going to talk about that. We want to zoom in on a certain aspect of the story. You have to understand that one of the questions on the order paper for that month's sitting of Parliament had to do with a gentleman called Mr. Nathan Casson Thomas, who had been affected, an elderly amputee. He doesn't have one of his legs. He had been seriously affected by Hurricane Tomas, and when representative for the area, West Kingstown, Honorable Daniel Cummings, raised the question in Parliament, he raised it in light of the fact that Mr. Thomas had been suffering from hurricane damage and had not yet received assistance from the government. I'm going to refer to the question in brief. In the question, the following information is given about the gentleman. Quote, Mr. Nathan Thomas is 84 years old, left leg amputee, and lives by himself in Edinburgh. He is a self-professed supporter of the New Democratic Party. During the passage of Hurricane Tomas, his house roof was blown off. He has made repeated fruitless visits to NEMO and to the Housing Authority, despite the millions of dollars spent by the government for this purpose. The Red Cross and other well-wishers have recently provided him with materials that allowed him to put the roof back on his house. He is now in the process of continuing the work on his own. Would the government find it in its heart to assist this needy elderly son of the soil to finish the refurbishment of his house by supplying the materials needed for the restoration of the ceiling, electrical, floor finishes, and plumbing? End of quote. This was the question by Honorable Daniel Cummings of West Kingstown asked to the Honorable Minister of Social Development. Sad to say, the answer given by Minister of Social Development, Mr. Frederick Stevenson, was one that left much to be desired. In short, he said that the ULP was the government with the most heart, and he went on to criticize Daniel Cummings by saying, and Mr. Thomas, by saying that as far as he knew, Mr. Thomas had never gone to the Family Affairs Division, and he also went on to remark on a point about if the persons who were advising him had sent him to the right department, maybe he would have got help. Something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing. But the sad thing about it is that Mr. Thomas is one of those persons who is a victim of the Hurricane Tomas, and to that point and to date had not received help from any government agency dealing with disaster relief. There are many stories like this. I get a lot of reports from persons, and I've investigated these reports where I've seen the damage done to their homes. I know of persons who still have tarpaulin and blocks holding down the tarpaulin on their houses from Hurricane Tomas because of the damage done to their house roofs. And what hurts is that these people are still in need, whereas they are able to point out neighbors living just next door to them whom they say have received assistance in the form of material, even though they did not need any assistance. Persons who were able to change their roofs and other work they've been able to do on their property, even though they were not victims of the hurricane. This is truly sad. And the question serving the people wants to ask tonight is, what really has become of the aid that has been received by the government as hurricane relief, disaster relief, since Hurricane Tomas? What has become of it? Because we have evidence from the very Prime Minister himself of a lot of assistance he had hoped to receive. I refer to that newspaper article I spoke of earlier, and I want to identify the fact that in it, the Prime Minister is quoted as identifying different assistance he expected to have received. Let me read from it a bit and then point to this chart showing you some of the figures. We were told, and I quote, and this is quoting the Honorable Prime Minister in a statement that he made concerning Hurricane Tomas and the assistance. And these statements would have been made in November of last year, 2010, just after Hurricane Tomas, end of October. It says here, quote, "As early as Monday, November 1st, within 2 days of the hurricane, the HLDC, that's the Housing and Land Development Corporation, commenced the distribution of building materials, which has continued unabated. These materials were sourced from the HLDC's stores and from building suppliers in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, who generously granted 90-day credit facilities to the government." The statement continues like this. "On Wednesday, November 17th, it is expected that a vessel laden with building materials valued at $5.5 million will arrive in St. Vincent and the Grenadines for further distribution." I pause here to go to this chart to show you the different things that were listed by the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, as assistance that the country would receive. What are we told? So he said on Wednesday, November 17th, it was expected that a vessel would arrive in St. Vincent and with building material worth EC $5.5 million. What was the next thing listed? The Prime Minister also identified that from the Venezuelan government, we would receive EC $4.5 million in grant for housing for the poor. Yes, my dear people. Also, from the Venezuela ALBA Fund, he said the country would receive $5.4 million for housing or other rehabilitative work. Furthermore, he also announced in the same article, I quote, "The government of Trinidad and Tobago has sent us some building materials and the government of Dominica will do so this week," the Prime Minister stated then. So this was in a statement made by the Prime Minister. It didn't end there. So we are told Trinidad government and Dominica government were to give some building material. He didn't give a value at the time for that assistance. He went on further to speak about a CDB or Caribbean Development Bank soft loan that would be taken worth 33.5 million EC dollars. Yes, my dear people, it goes on. NIS grant, a grant from NIS of EC $1 million. Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility was supposed to give us 1.4 million EC dollars. The Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility, 1.4 million EC dollars. I'm listing out to you and for you what the Honorable Prime Minister of this country said concerning what we would get. And mind you, he had said about these different assistance, he had said, it says here, he also stated, in the immediate aftermath of Hurricane Tomas, I set about seeking emergency, humanitarian, relief, and short to medium-term rehabilitation assistance for Operation Recovery and Reconstruction. In addition to the monies and grants already identified above, this is all that is here so far, in addition to the monies and grants already identified above for emergency relief and housing, I shall list monies which have already come to hand and those which are on low-hanging branches, so to speak, for recovery and reconstruction. In other words, the Prime Minister was talking about monies which we already have, as well as monies which were soon to be received, which he described as hanging on low-hanging branches. Let me turn the page. We go on to learn of more assistance that we're supposed to get according to the Prime Minister at that time in November when he spoke. And he said some of them were already at hand, some of them are soon to come. From the European Union, we were expected to get $2 million. $2 million. From the IMF, we were told we were supposed to draw down 30% of St. Vincent and the Grenadines' special drawing rights from the IMF, and that 30% was equivalent to EC $10 million. All of this is for hurricane relief. You will see the grand total at the end. From the EU Rural Transformation Grant, the third and fourth tranches, we were supposed to get EC $29.5 million. This is what our Prime Minister was saying to us in November last year after Hurricane Tomas. The CDB, the Caribbean Development Bank, was also, through its BNTF program, supposed to give to us 5.5 million EC dollars. Again, the CDB emergency soft loan. We would take an emergency soft loan from CDB of $2 million. He said, the World Bank emergency and pilot disaster loan, emergency loan and pilot disaster loan was supposed to be announced. He said that in the newspaper article. He spoke of this World Bank loan. It says here, an application to the World Bank for a sum yet to be finalized between the bank and the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines regarding an emergency loan and a pilot disaster loan. This is why I have here to be announced. And then we go on, ALBA soft loan, a second tranche of how much? EC $54 million. That's an ALBA soft loan of $54 million. Later, Qatar, we were told in another story that Qatar, the government of Qatar, had given us $1 million for Hurricane Tomas. That came a little later because, in fact, this was announced around the time just after we had suffered the flash floods up in the Georgetown area. But nevertheless, Qatar was giving $1 million to us. And Lime, Cable and Wireless as we know it, had handed over $500,000, $500,000 to the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to aid in relief. This was for the flash flood, as I recall. But the point is, we also had CRICs giving money for the flash flood. There has been significant amount of monies given. If you take off just the Lime amount, which was for the flash flood, but you add everything else, when I added it up, the total I got was over $198 million, my dear people. This is minus the figure from Lime and from CRICs, which, as I recall, was from the flash flood, was given to relief in the flash flood situation. But for Tomas, Hurricane Tomas relief, we're talking about over $198 million. I added it up and it came up to about $198,424,318 thereabout. Okay, my figure could be off by a little bit because I just realized that I didn't minus the figure from CRICs and the figure from Lime. The point is, my dear people, this figure is significant. Even if you just round it off to $198 million, that's a lot of money. What I'm concerned about is that when I look at the different cases that have not yet been fixed, health assistance has not been granted, and I consider that the estimates to just fix the roof or make a few adjustments here and there, a few changes, the estimates are not very high. I ask myself, where has all this money gone? Where is the money? There are people in great need. The hurricane season is upon us again since June started, and even before that we were getting a significant amount of rains, and there are persons who have not got assistance. And sad to say, this is a reality. A number of those persons are New Democratic Party supporters, and they are very concerned and worried that they are being victimized politically, because especially when they look at their neighbors who have got assistance in areas where they didn't even need assistance. This is unacceptable, and we need answers from the government of this country. We need to know where has over $100 million in disaster relief for Hurricane Tomas gone. Are you telling me you have spent it all already in disaster relief? We need to know, because people are still hurting and suffering, and they need immediate and urgent assistance so as to position themselves to face other potential storms coming up in this new hurricane season, which we've already been told by the professionals promises to be a very active and serious season, more active than normal. Having addressed that, we await accountability from the government, but I wanted to give you an idea of the kind of monies we've already received, and to let you know it's no joke money, $198 million approximately, and that people need to know what is going on from you, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Now, having looked at that segment, we want to go into another brief segment for a short moment. I want to refer to a question that was asked in Parliament and some facts that comes out of the situation. The Honourable Annie Muses asked a question of the Prime Minister with respect to the QAT fund, because it had been going around and documentation was there to prove that a certain payment on the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines loan to the QAT fund had not been paid. So the opposition leader asked about the arrears of interest and principal on the government's loan for the expansion of the Cane Hall Power project, and asked about when the payment was made. Now, while the Prime Minister was able to answer it and say that yes, the payment had eventually been made, if I recall well, he indicated that the payment was in fact made on the 16th of May. Yes. Apart from that, the fact that he could have said the payment was made, there are other things that we need to consider concerning the QAT fund. And for this, I want you to take a quick look at what I'm going to show you here on this laptop. If you look on the QAT fund site, if you go to www.qat-fund.org on the internet, you would find that St. Vincent and the Grenadines loan history is documented there. And essentially you would see that in history, St. Vincent and the Grenadines has had 3 loans with the QAT fund. The Kingston Port Development loan, or the loan to deal with the Kingston Port Development project, and we are told its status is completed. So the project was completed. Another project, expansion of Cane Hall Power Plant project, and we are told project status completed. But the third project I want us to look at is where the concern is. E.T. Joshua Airport project, and the status of the project is active. Now when you look to the next page where we zoom in on that project, E.T. Joshua Airport project, you would observe a few things. What do we see here? We see, for example, that this project, the effective date was the 9th month, September 2004. That's the effective date. But what was the purpose of this project? The purpose of this project, let's look at the project objectives and the project description. It tells us here, project objectives: to satisfy increasing demand on air traffic and enhance the economic development of the country. And what was the description? What exactly is the work to be done? It says, to improve the existing airport to be capable of handling an annual traffic of 360,000 passengers by increasing the area of the passengers terminal, constructing a cargo terminal, to improve the airside facilities, and to procure modern navigational aid equipment. This is very significant, because we ask ourselves, has work really been done? Can we as Vincentians say that we have seen the improvement of the existing airport in the area of increasing the passenger terminal size, constructing a cargo terminal, and bringing about improvement to airside facilities and providing this modern navigational aid? Have these things been done? The reason why we have to question it is because when you scroll down further and you look at the status of the project, this is what we discover. Though the effective date is 2004, we discover, for example, that the expected completion date was to be 2006. Let me show it to you. Let's scroll down a little. Here it is. Expected completion date, the 12th month, 2006. So it was supposed to be finished since December 2006. However, look at the status. Consultant status appointed. So consultants have been appointed. But contractor status not appointed. So no contractors have been appointed. And what is there for the technical progress on the project? It tells us delayed. So whereas the other said completed, this project is delayed. But we are told financial progress 3.96%. So we ask ourselves, if there have been drawdowns on this loan to finance this project, and if so, where is the proof of the work being done? But how can there be work done, you might ask, Ms. Batiste, if it says here that no consultants have been appointed. So we want to know what is the status of this project to develop the E.T. Joshua Airport, because we understand the government borrowed a loan from the QAT fund to finance part of it, and we are seeing that the status of this project is delayed on the QAT fund site. And by the way, the last update to this page on the QAT fund site was the 9th of June 2011. So this is a recent updated page, recently updated information. These are some of the questions we have here at Serving the People, because we're very concerned about what is happening in our country and what is happening with our people's taxpayers' money that is being used to finance loans that are taken to do development. We want to see the development. The government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines therefore must answer what is going on with the project to improve the airside facilities, increase the passenger terminal, construct the cargo terminal at the airport. Why have not contractors been appointed? And why is it that the project was supposed to have finished in 2006 and we are told right now the status is delayed? These are some of the things I wanted to bring to you, and we're still not finished yet. Take a brief look for about 2 minutes or so at the Rhoda Daniel House project update and enjoy. This is going to be, we can see Rhoda's back door in the distance. And at the side here is the entrance to one of the bedrooms. We'll take a closer look shortly. To the other half of the back door, which has to go on afterwards. And right next door is the entrance to the next bedroom, the second bedroom. So Rhoda will now have 2 bedrooms. Windows are now in. 2 windows in 1 bedroom. Yes, my dear people, the house is going well. We wish Rhoda very well. We thank all the persons who've contributed, who continue to contribute. It's almost finished, and there are some people who are saying they want to contribute things to put inside because Rhoda had lost everything when the house burnt. We thank you, we love you, and remember to contact Serving the People. Write to servingthepeople.ab@gmail.com or call telephone number 1784-528-1015. Until next program, God bless you, we love you. Amen.